All right. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us on this Chill with Jim session, where it is always business up top and pajamas at the bottom. I am your host. My name is Jim McCarthy, and my role at Strix, I am the client advocate. So basically, my job is to make sure that all of our clients have the best equipment, software, and IT solutions in place. We also have David DeArmond, the owner of Strix Louisiana, with us.
Hey guys, I am David DeArmond, owner of StrixLA. We started operations in 2008, and so it's what we're trying to do is keep an eye on the trends, the things that affect small businesses and their technology, and make sure that you have the best technology that can protect your business from whatever sort of downtime you may experience, whether it's failures of some sort or cyber attacks. And so that's what I do here on a day-to-day basis.
All right, thank you, David. We also have Candace DeArmond from the Strix team with us.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. I'm Candace. I'm the office admin. Keep these guys in line, make sure everybody's got their ducks in a row, marketing, the fun stuff. I get to sit on the back end and poke them and tell them what to do a little bit.
She pokes hard too, she does.
Keep everybody straight.
So a little bit about Strix. We believe there's always a better, simpler, more secure way to do things. And so what that looks like for us is we're always examining our current protocols, our procedures. We're looking at them, we're analyzing them to make sure that we have the best IT solutions in place. We believe that part of this responsibility is to help educate our clients as well as others the best way to use their current resources. This includes bringing awareness to security risks that are happening in the IT world today, and just to talk about other trends that are going on in the world of technology. Today, we are talking about VPN, which is also known as a virtual private network. Now, basically what a virtual private network, a VPN, I'm gonna just keep using it VPN from now on, so it saves me a little bit of a mouthful there. What this does is it gives you online privacy and anonymity by creating a private network through a public internet source. What a VPN will do is it masks your internet protocol, which is known as an IP address. And this protects you while you're online to keep the eavesdroppers from seeing what information you have. It creates basically a tunnel that's encrypted. So all of the data that's going through is scrambled in a way that even if the bad guys are looking at this data, they're not going to be able to understand it. So why do you need a VPN service? Well, surfing the web, transactions online through an unsecure source, they can be exposing all of your information to whoever's watching or to whoever has access to that network. So, you need to be concerned with your security and privacy whenever you're connected to the internet. And the best way to do this is to use a VPN. You can think about all the times that you're on the go. Maybe you're reading your emails while you're at the coffee shop. Maybe you're in line at the bank and you're checking your bank account info. Well, these are some of the times where if there's someone else, a bad guy on that same network, your data, your privacy is going to be vulnerable from them to be able to watch what's going on. They're able to gather your credentials, maybe watch what you're doing with your emails and somehow get your email password. And so it's really important. First of all, we recommend if you're at a location that has a public Wi-Fi, you really want to avoid using that public Wi-Fi, especially if there's no password to get into the Wi-Fi. That's something you want to watch out for. Now, even if you're on a private Wi-Fi that you have to have a password, there's a lot of security risks there as well. They can actually, there's cases where they will create a duplicate of that Wi-Fi, so they'll have the same name, same password. So your phone or your device might be switching between the two. And the one that the bad guy creates is one where they're just straight up watching everything you do and collecting all the data on you so they can use it in a malicious way later on. You know, a little more about how a VPN works is it's going to create that data tunnel between your local network and another location. You know, this location could maybe be thousands of miles away. And what this does is it makes it seem as if you're in another place. And the benefits, they allow you, you know, freedom to roam the internet without having basically a trace of where you are, the devices you're using. It creates a very safe and secure way to surf the internet. You know, some of the things that your VPN will protect you from, it's going to protect your browsing history. A couple examples here might be maybe you have a medical condition and you're looking up, you know, ways to help, you know, either medication or things that you can do for your health to get better. Well, you really don't want any of this information going out. You know, if you're automatically sharing this information, you might start receiving very targeted ads that relate to your condition. You know, and so that means that anytime you get online, that ad might pop up, and you know, people are going to start to know, like, oh, exactly what medications you've been looking at or what kind of issues you have going on. You know, and this next example is one of my favorites because I do this quite a bit. But if you're searching for a plane ticket online, so you're hitting the travel sites and you're looking for the specific date and where you want to travel, well, they're watching you. And so if they have your IP address and they see you continually are looking to get, you know, a Baton Rouge flight to Spain or something like this, they're going to slowly increase this price on you because they know you're super interested. And so this is another way that a VPN can really protect your browsing history. We talked about it earlier, you know, your IP address and location every time you come on, that's going to be logged somewhere. And so anyone who starts to capture your IP address can know exactly where you are, what you're looking at. You know, they can see kind of your whole history of what you're doing. Everything you buy, everything you know, sell, what school you go to, your employer, and things like that. So these are things you want to keep out of the bad guys' hands. This is kind of a cool one. So if you're using a streaming service, Netflix, or maybe you have a sports channel or something, what they're doing is they're watching where your IP is. So maybe if you leave the country or if you go to another location in the country, your streaming service is going to stop working. With a VPN, they're going to typically allow you to pick a location where you want your VPN IP address to come from. And you can select that. So maybe if you are traveling out of seas, you can still catch your football games that you wanted to see. You can still, if you're visiting with friends, you can still pull up your Netflix account and watch movies with them. You know, so that's something that a VPN will allow you to do. And it will also just in general protect your devices. So anytime you log into the internet with your computer, laptop, tablet, smartphone, you know, there's prying eyes that are watching, especially like I talked about earlier, if you're on a public Wi-Fi network, there's a very good chance that they're able to access these devices. And so with a VPN, it gets you out of that public network. It creates that secure encrypted tunnel and will protect you while you're using your devices. Identity theft is huge right now. And so, you know, if your smartphones are Wi-Fi enabled at all times, they're just going to hop on and off Wi-Fi networks. And this is going to make you vulnerable without you really even knowing that you're connecting to these devices or to these Wi-Fi networks. You know, your everyday activities like shopping, banking, whatever you do in your browsers is going to be exposed, which gives the cyber thief a lot of information to go ahead and create your identity and use it for something else. So VPN is a great way to stop identity theft. You know, and those are some of the major reasons that you want to use a VPN. I just wanted to kind of briefly touch on each, and then we can just open this up for discussion. There's 1,000 different ways a VPN can help you out. So, you
Yeah,
know, any questions? Yeah.
a lot of those ways that you talked about, Jim, it's VPN protection to protect you as an individual. And I know we've got Zach on the line here. We've got a couple of people from Eagle as well. And so we probably ought to talk about how a corporate VPN helps protect your information as a corporation. So it's the same concept that you talked about of creating that private tunnel, but in that case, you're creating a private tunnel from your computer to the corporate resources at the facility. So Zach, you mentioned, you know, you guys have your manufacturing, is that correct? So you guys are in manufacturing. You have people, especially probably now, that are working from home from somewhere else, and they need to talk to the resources you have at the office. And so how do you do that securely without opening up all of your resources to the entire world? What you use is the virtual private network to create that tunnel for someone to connect directly to your resources, but it's through that encrypted tunnel. And you guys are using SonicWall. Is that what you
Yes,
said?
we use a SonicWall firewall to handle our VPN.
Right. So that's kind of the different approaches to VPN. There's private anonymous VPNs, which will help protect you as an individual from the snooping that Jim talked about with cookies being saved on your machine and advertising or man in the middle attacks where someone is routing your traffic through their machine, reading everything. So that's the private VPN. There's the whole corporate VPN. What we're talking about there with Zach, with SonicWall, we use something called up-level systems. That's what we have there at Eagle to create that VPN tunnel. And then there's kind of a hybrid too, which is another product that we offer that allows you to have more of the personal VPN. It protects all of your traffic, but it anonymizes it while still protecting the corporate identity. So in a business, if someone is using a business machine or using business resources, you're responsible for it as the business owner, as the business is responsible. So if someone is using a corporate machine and they go out and they do something malicious themselves, or their computer gets compromised, you're responsible as a business for that. So this kind of hybrid approach it's a business class VPN that still tracks the activity of the device. If you're using just a personal anonymizer, then it's not going to track anything. So your NordVPNs, some of those other personal, they're not going to track anything. With our solution, we're going to track. Still, the corporation will be able to go in and see where you've been, and have the information that's required for regulatory purposes. So, 3 different approaches to VPNs, and what we're seeing is people utilizing multiple products. So especially using the business VPN that goes on your smartphone and your computer, along with the VPN connection back to your resources like the SonicWall or the up-level. So Zach, tell us how it's been with your SonicWall VPN there.
Well, pre-COVID, we had maybe 10 active users who would be using our VPN at any given time, mostly sales and a couple of engineers that are offsite. After we began working with our entire office, environment working remotely, our firewall has clearly, I mean, it's just flat out overwhelmed due to the traffic. The processor in our firewall, which handles our VPN, can barely keep up. So we've had employees sort of staggering shifts. So, there's fewer utilizing those resources at any given time. And I mean, obviously that's not optimal for, any operation. So we're just kind of, I'm reaching out and just kind of looking to see what's out there, whether it be a more robust firewall that we would utilize the VPN aspect, or a standalone appliance. And then we could just, maintain our same firewall, and then have the VPN appliance doing the VPNing for us.
Your employees that are utilizing the VPN, are they needing to access the resources back there at the office? Is that why you're using that approach? Okay.
We have quite a few in-house written applications that all need access to our on-site, like our server room databases and stuff like that. We don't use Office 365. We still use on-prem email. So, that's more traffic going through there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they quite need that connection back to the office.
Yeah. So and a lot of that, as you mentioned, it's how much can that appliance, because you're looking more at a VPN appliance, and how much can it handle? What kind of processing power does it need? And so I imagine you guys you outfitted everything for 4 or 5 people to be able to access it. Now you've got an entire company, and it's creating some log jams. And that is not necessarily going to cover your phones. So if you have employees that are accessing maybe email, generally a lot of people just leave their email on a public IP address, the email servers, and so you don't require a VPN for your phone to connect back to the email server. If you run into one of those man-in-the-middle attacks, and somebody's not careful with what network they're connecting to, a cyber criminal can watch that traffic going back and forth. They can get credentials. They can get important information that are going to help them dig into your network. And so that's why you need maybe a little bit more robust of a VPN. So that the business class VPN that we use privatized, what it does is it's got servers all over the place, and it's an always on VPN. So it turns on as soon as it's connected to the network, the VPN turns on, and it starts sending all of that traffic, all of your internet traffic. It's going to go through that server first. It's going to encrypt it. It's going to and hide the information. So even if you're on a compromised network, your information is still hidden. And then, like Jim said, it looks like you're coming from Los Angeles. It looks like you're coming from Dallas, wherever the server may be. And so people don't have a good idea, the cyber criminals don't have a good idea of how you're where you're coming from, and getting more information about how to break into your systems. So Carlene, you're kind of on the opposite end of that spectrum. You're more of a of just a single user, and you use something like NordVPN or something like that. Is that correct?
I use IPVanish. I initially got it for my Fire Stick, but now I use it on my computer and whatever.
What have you noticed from before you used the VPN to after you used the VPN?
Well, I mean, one thing I had a little bit of an issue with was sending emails, because sometimes I would have issues with Outlook, but that seems to be working now. And then another thing you have to watch is when like you're shopping with it on, because it'll say that I'm in Chicago. So
Oh, yeah.
it'll bring up, you know, like stores around Chicago, and I'm not in Chicago, I'm in Ohio. So, you know, I got to kind of watch stuff like that. But other than that, I mean, I haven't really noticed any, you know, any negative. It seems to work fine, and I just have it starts up automatically on my computer, and then it's just always running.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bo,
that's a good point. You know, just to touch on that real quick, you know, we've all had that magical experience where maybe you're shopping on your Amazon app for a certain item, and then you switch over to your internet on your phone and you look at Facebook, and all of a sudden, every single ad is for that item. This is something, you know, these annoying targeted ads. With a VPN on, you know, it's really going to cut down on a lot of that. They're no longer tracking exactly what you do, so you know you don't feel like they're cramming it right down your throat whenever you log into any resource. And so, Carlene, that was a great point to pull up. And I think David, you had a question for Bo there.
yeah, I was gonna. Bo is pretty tech savvy, and so I know you're using, of course, the VPN there for Eagle to connect back to corporate resources. Do you use a personal VPN as well? And you're on mute there.
No, I don't use a personal. That's why I was interested in this.
Okay.
My home network is fairly secure. I had one of the guys my sister dated and didn't marry, which was kind of a, you know, a rarity. Was a network administrator, and he so he helped me set up the network and
Okay.
made sure it was pretty bulletproof. So I'm fairly good with my home, but why I wanted to do this was I am worried about with my kids going out with the phones, and they're big on hooking up to public networks to get the free Wi-Fi while they're, you know, at places. And so that's my biggest concern for them and for my network, is being able to cover my devices and when they're out and about. You know, when they're on my home network, I'm not as much worried. When they're out going places, going to Starbucks, going to places like that, that's where I get really concerned.
Yeah, and so that application, you're probably looking more like the IPVanish that Carlene uses. NordVPN, ExpressVPN is
Yeah,
another one.
Yeah, my roommate's using ExpressVPN, and he really likes it. You know, and some of the things when you guys are shopping for a VPN, you know, there's just certain things you want to look into about this. You know, this is kind of, again, David's doing a great job covering the corporate side of things, but you know, Bo, since you looking at more of the personalized issue or VPN, there's a few things you want to really look into before you make commit to one. You know, does the VPN respect your privacy? You got to make sure that they're not also selling your information to someone else. Are they running the most current protocols? You know, some of the free options, they're going to be using kind of outdated information or protocols because they want to, you know, save some money. Some of them have data limits. You got to look out for data limits. When you're looking at them, find out where their servers are going to be located, because that's another one that can really shut down what you're doing. If they're using a server, and it's crazy how many times we see, I think Amazon and Facebook both use servers in the Netherlands. Well, if there's a site that's not allowing traffic in from another country, it's really going to limit you on your devices. So you want to look into that. Are you able to use the VPN on multiple devices? That's something you want to look into. And then, you know, cost is going to be an issue, or something you want to look at. Cost is going to be something you want to look at. And so you want to make sure that those things are included with a free service. Usually one of those are going to be lacking. And so that's really what I wanted to touch on, and with the free VPNs out there. They will offer you quite a bit of, you know, amazing technology for a free price, but, you know, are they doing secure protocols? Are they limiting your speeds or your data usage? Are are they going to have a high disconnection rate? You can look at reviews to look at this. And then, just look at the servers, where they're located. And I think that's some of the important things I wanted to mention on that.
Yeah, the rule of thumb, if a product is free, that means you are the product. So be very careful with a free VPN, because it probably gets into what Jim was talking about with they're capturing your information and perhaps selling it to another party, because how else are they going to make money? It's not trivial to set up VPN servers that are able to handle thousands, millions of people. So there's a lot of infrastructure that goes behind that. If they're offering it for free, where are they making their money? It may be in your information. So yeah, that's a great point, Jim, to be very careful with those free ones. See what's the deal with those. The good ones are not really that expensive.
Oh, and I was going to say, David, I was looking while y'all were talking earlier, I was just kind of browsing, and like NordVPN is $3.50 a month if you do a 24-month deal with them. So I mean, that's not unrealistic. It's not out of the realm. And there's some pretty good ones out there that run kind of in that neighborhood. So it's not like you're going to be spending $15, $20 a month for something. And typically they'll cover 5 to 6 devices.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and mine for my Fire Stick, I follow a website called Troy Point, and they give you a lot of tips as far as, loading your apps and, all that kind of stuff. And he backs that IP vanish. And so I'm sure he's done research on the different VPNs that are out there, and there's always a promo code on that. So I paid, I think, for a year, and I think it did the same thing. It worked out to be like $3 something a month, but you pay for a year at a time, and it covers 5 different devices.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Zach,
ahead,
you're talking about your particular environment and needing VPN. That kind of gets into a larger discussion of moving things off of your internal resources, because you are sending everything through a single pipe, and it's just like water. If you're sending a bunch of water into a single pipe, it's going to build up pressure. That's when you burst a pipe, and you don't want to do that with your internet connection. So have you guys put any thought into getting things off of that particular network?
I personally have been quite an advocate pushing for more cloud-based, starting with Office 365, and then looking more to host some stuff in AWS. It all comes back to the cost. Management sees a tried and true method of on-prem, and it costs less. Obviously, it costs me more of my time and more of my hours managing it. But when it comes down to it, the year-over-year cost is less to do on-prem. But I think as we're seeing this, we've really embraced part of the Office 365 with Teams, just due to the communication of the COVID working from home. And I think, it's really opening some eyes to a lot of our management and, the decision makers at the top that, we are able to expand our workforce more, more nationally and more globally, if we can spread these resources around. And I believe we'll probably have some of our employees continue, post-COVID world, whatever that is. I believe we'll have quite a few of our employees working from home and, working from outside the area, just because it costs a lot less to not have to heat and cool a building and to physically have a body in a chair.
Yeah, and that's a great point. So much of this is the back and forth of what's more affordable, and the argument on the other side would be, well, downtime or your time. Really, that's where it gets more expensive than it looks like on the piece of paper. So if you're having to put all your guys that are on a VPN on shifts instead of all working at once, this is a huge hit to your productivity. Things like that, or you you talked about Teams. We love Teams. We've been using Teams for over 2 years, or maybe over 3 years. We love it. Like I said in the beginning, we believe there's always a better, simpler, more secure way. And they're out there, but once you get kind of stuck in that maintenance mindset where, well, this is working, so we're going to keep it, it's really hard to get other people to look outside of just, well, hey, this is my monthly bill, this is it. And so, and that's a conversation we have with prospects or current, sometimes current clients a lot is how do we show them the value when they're only looking at one of the metrics? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's interesting you bring up all of those people that are working from home, because management seeing, well, hey, we can reduce basically our real estate cost by having people work from home. Bo maybe has done a good job of protecting his home network, but there's probably a lot of other people within your organization that have not done a very good job of protecting their home network. The number of vulnerabilities that exist in home Wi-Fi routers and in the cable modems, there are vulnerabilities everywhere, and most work from home people, they're not going in and updating the firmware on their devices, so those vulnerabilities are just wide open. And
I'd like to point out, David, that I think that there's kind of and I hate to say it this way, there's kind of an age issue, because I know when I go to my father's house, he scares the hell out of me. And I know that letting everybody know that's listening to this, that's one of the things you also have to kind of look at is those around you who are not necessarily tech savvy, but just savvy, period, as far as what they need to be aware of. Because there's been times where I've gone on and done stuff on his computer, and it just kind of shocks me. You're kind of like, you can't be doing this. You can't be downloading this stuff. You can't be operating this way. So it's one of those other things to kind of think about is that look around at your parents, around at other people that maybe aren't. They think I've got an iPad and I can just waltz in and hook up to the network and go do whatever, and I'm going to do my banking and I'm going to do whatever. And they can't do that kind of stuff. And I've noticed it's kind of that generation, like my dad's generation, they're not aware of that stuff. They don't think about it.
And they're happy clickers. Oh, what's this? I'm going to click on it. Oh, what's this? This email must be for me. It's a Nigerian princess who she wants to give me $4 million. I'll just see what it's all about.
Yeah, well, and you go to someone else's network like that and you bring your computer. So Zach, let's say you've got an employee that they have a laptop because they're working from home. Now, maybe their network is secure, but maybe they go to their dad's network and they connect and they don't see anything that happens. What they don't know is that there is a cyber criminal that is watching everybody that connects, and it sees, here's a new device. Wonder what's going on there. They drop something on that device, very quiet, and then your employee connects back to your VPN or comes into the office and plugs in, and they are bringing it with them. They're bypassing the VPN. They're bringing it straight in because that device was never protected when it was out in the world. It kind of like the whole COVID thing. You may protect yourself inside your house, but if you go out and are exposing yourself to exposing yourself to COVID, not exposing yourself, Jim.
We got it. We understood,
okay.
David.
Yeah. Okay. So you go out and you get exposed to some sort of threat, and then you bring it back in. It doesn't matter how careful you've been on the inside because you've brought it in to your network. So and a VPN can help with some of that. That gets into kind of some wider cyber hygiene in general. But yeah, great point that you brought up there, Bo, with other people's networks.
Yeah, and I've been, helping my friends and family just set up. Usually, they know you're in IT, so anything happens, they call you. And but I've shown quite a few people recently how easy it is to get into their router or their Wi-Fi, because there's an admin username and there's an admin password, and it's really hard to find the password. You just open up a Google search and you say Netgear with the model default password, and you're in. You are in. I mean, I've blown people's minds that what? That's as easy as it is. And I'm like, man, they have every single one that they put out into production has these same credentials.
Mhm.
And if you don't know, that's the problem. It's not like they're careless. They just don't know
Right.
that they need to change these things. And so they're like, how are you getting into my router? Well, I'll show you. Google search, admin. Usually the password might be admin. It's really secure, but that's just a way they get right into your router. They get right into your cable modem, and they have access to everything. So I think it's been an eye opener that I've been able to show people in person. But again, with the remote workers, the stay-at-home people, they're all connecting through what they've got at the house. And if you have a VPN in place, it's another lock on the door to keep them out. Where even if they're connecting through that, if your VPN's always active, at least they are protected while they're on that not protected device.
Yeah, another fun parlor trick is so you go to your family's house, you get their Wi-Fi SSID, the ID, the name of the network, and you get their password, and then you take them somewhere else completely different, and you have your own personal little Wi-Fi device, and you set it up. You configure it with the same SSID and the same password, and a lot of computers are going to connect to that. And you can tell someone, okay, so you have your home network, it's secure, you got a password. Okay, well, now we're in Starbucks. Take a look at your computer. And they say, well, it's connected to Wi-Fi. And you say, yeah, I've got a device here. I am watching every bit of traffic. That's the man in the middle attack. That's one form of a man in the middle attack. And it's common. I was at a global business seminar, and I was there talking about cybersecurity. The whole conference wasn't about cybersecurity, but and on the placards on everybody's table is the connection details to how to connect to the Wi-Fi. And so I'm looking at that, and if I'm malicious, and if I find someone in there that I want to target specifically, I can recreate that same network that they have probably said to save the credentials, and I can follow that person around, and their phone is going to connect to my Wi-Fi. I'll watch everything going back and forth. If I was that kind of person, that's what's possible, and those opportunities are presented over and over and over and over again out in the world. So dangerous world out there.
How ironic. Cybersecurity seminar.
Well, it wasn't a cybersecurity seminar.
It wasn't? Okay.
I was there talking about cybersecurity, but it was about just global business in general, and so I was talking about if you're reaching out to the rest of the world, you have to consider all of these things under cybersecurity, VPN being one of those. So but those sorts of things are always presented. Those opportunities are presented when you go to any conference, because most of them are going to give you some sort of connection information.
Yeah. The airports are a big one too. Usually at the airport you can't get a regular signal for the internet for some reason. A lot of the airports I go to, I can't just use my regular phone internet. The signal's really low or something. So what do they have? They have the Wi-Fi free for the airport. And so that's another dangerous area.
Bo, you had something?
Well, I was just going to say that my kids get irritated by it, but I don't broadcast my Wi-Fi ID. You have to know exactly what it is to enter it, and so they get frustrated because they can't just pull up a device. I've got a separate guest ID that people who come over can link up to and access the internet. But as far as my network, I don't broadcast it because I can pull up on my computer the 9 people who live around me and see exactly what the names
Right.
of their networks are and everything. And my, you know, again, if it's somebody who's really, really, really trying to get in, I'm sure they probably could find a way, but why make it easy?
Right.
Why give them that easy target and tell them exactly where you're at and what you're doing? But I can tell you, when I pull up my Wi-Fi in the area, I can specifically name for the networks. I know exactly what house it is and who it is based on their network. You know, it's too easy. You make it too easy.
Yeah, I was having the conversation earlier today with someone about they're a small business, and for small businesses, the attacks are growing. Small businesses are being attacked more and more, and the numbers just continue to go up year after year. But a lot of your cybersecurity is really about not being an easy target. The small businesses, the reason the attacks are growing is because they are easy targets. They're not generally specifically targeted unless someone knows, you know, about them and they're trying to get to a bigger network. Usually a small business is not specifically targeted. They are targeted in a blast, and the criminals scan for, okay, well, where are the open holes? And I'm just going to go after that. It's like the criminals going around pulling on doors in a parking lot to see which one's open. That's the one that's going to get.
I was going to tell you, give you an example. It happened to me when I worked at Dow about 8, 9, 10 years ago. There was a restaurant over in Plaquemine we used to go eat at, and you know, you pay for it. But I one day I pulled up the Wi-Fi in the area and found out they had an unsecured connection. And sure enough, a week later, I got a phone call from my credit card company saying that all their data had been breached, and they were sending me a new credit card. So, you know, it's not just, like I said, not just your stuff, but if a business operates like that, they think, well, you know, yeah, my brother-in-law can set up a router for us, and we're going to set up a separate connection for all the employees to get to. But that's one of the first things I do is I pull into a restaurant or a business and I pull it up, because that's what my kids are doing. They're pulling it up to look to see where the free Wi-Fi is, and I pull mine up to make sure and say, don't connect to that and don't connect to that. You know, so that's from a small business standpoint. You try to cut corners, you try to save a little bit of money, but you know that you think of just the sheer number of credit cards that go through a restaurant like that, and the sheer amount of data that they get, and they just leave it wide open. I mean, just left it wide open. Restaurant. I was going to say it was in Plaquemine, so. It's not like there was a whole lot, but still, you know.
we're happy they had internet connection, right? No, and restaurants are highly targeted these days. There's a huge push for cyber criminals to go out for exactly what you said there, Bo. They collect a ton of information, financial information, and they get lots of credit cards going through there. And they're small ticket items, and I would bet that a criminal could steal the credit cards and use that credit card on small ticket items that would take months for someone to actually notice.
Yeah.
And it's because a restaurant was compromised, but they'll sit there, they'll just collect data, sell it on the dark web or use it themselves. So.
Yep. And that the cyber criminals are really, really good. They have a lot of patience. We've seen where they've gotten into an Office 365 email account. They've been there for 7 or 8 months before they even do anything. They're learning behaviors. They're learning correspondence. They're picking their next target. And so that's one thing that, you know, when you mentioned it, I mean, they're extremely patient. And a lot of their software is so, you know, automated, they don't have to sit there and watch. Right. They can put some things in place where alerts will pop up. You know, Zach had a great point about, you know, making sure your VPN providers are not logging every single packet you send and receive. And David, you know, I mean, with the Strix solution, is that something you've considered?
Well, I mean, the Strix solution is logging it. And it's doing it on purpose because it is a corporate device. So if you are in any sort of regulated business if there's any sort of regulation. And sometimes those regulations, they're beginning to come down from your insurance company. So it's not a regulated industry, but your insurance company, in order to provide you coverage for a breach, they're going to say you have to be connected by a VPN, number one, and number two, you need to have a log of all of the traffic. And so the solution that we have in place now that's separate from connecting to the resources like the Sonic Walls Act that you mentioned, this solution, it is going to log the traffic back and forth, because again, the business is responsible for that. It's on business hardware, and that's actually a very important consideration. A lot of businesses are having their employees use a Nord, an Express, an IP Vanish, that sort of thing, and they're losing control. They now are not fulfilling their regulatory requirements. So yeah, the logging thing, you have to know what you're supposed to do. If you're working as just an individual on your own, then yes, I would say anonymize it as much as you can. But if you're setting it up for your business, don't anonymize it. You're setting yourself up for trouble.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. I messaged that to Jim. With logging, you don't want your personal VPN application that you're using. You don't want them to be logging all that, because if they get compromised, someone now has a treasure trove of data on you that they can literally tie directly back to your entry IP into the VPN. And so you don't really want you don't like you're saying. I mean, that's like Jim was saying earlier. All that information is tied to you if it gets in the wrong hands, and they can start seeing what you're shopping for, what medication you're using, things like that. If just because those are things, they're logging all those queries if it's a lower end personal VPN.
Yeah, there was actually we've talked about NordVPN. They were hacked. So Zach, that's a great point that you bring up. I don't remember what information was exposed. If I remember correctly, it wasn't too dangerous, and in part because they're not keeping any data. They are considered no log or logless. So I don't know how much information was stolen, but they may not know either. Because if someone was able to hack into their systems and just watch traffic and log it themselves, then it doesn't matter that Nord has no logs. And because they have no logs, are they able to go back and do any kind of reconnaissance to understand what happened, who was affected? Nord is probably saying, we don't know who was affected because we don't keep logs.
Yeah. Yeah, like the and that really there's no 100% way to stop identity theft or a data breach. Unfortunately there's not one thing, there's not 20 things you can do that will for sure always guarantee that you're not. But what we like to, and David used it a little bit earlier, but I can always compare it to the cars down the street. So I'm a bad guy, and first thing I'm going to do is just try door handles because I want to get in the easiest way. The next way, if all the doors are locked, I'm going to see which one, doesn't have an alarm. I'm going to go for that one. I'm going to go for one, if it does have an alarm, that maybe I know how to turn this alarm off. So there's always going to be, the bad guys are smart so that they can find a way around this, but it's how much work do they really want to do? And so that's what we're talking about here with the VPN is one of the many steps that you should take to protecting yourself. We have a lot of other, antivirus is a big one. We like backup and data is a huge one because if something does leak or get out and it's damaged, you can just recover it very easily. We also have some other things in place that will watch the behavior of your computer. The behavior of Microsoft Office 365. So if a rule is created, we get an alert because a lot of these times the bad guys will create a rule to hide their activity. And it's to look at the big picture, we want to put as many blockers in place as you can. So the bad guy gets past one and is, darn, they have this in place too. And if you're able to stack up enough locks or blocks in place, they're going to lose interest.
Yeah, Indiana Jones never got to his treasure going through just one single test.
That's true.
He had a lot of different tests that he had to go through. So you need to set the same thing up.
Yeah. And I mean, he's a historic, real person. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we need to learn from him.
There's, I think, 4 documentaries on him out there now.
Yeah.
The second one's not that great. I don't know
The
what
last
y'all think.
one. Yeah. The last one was terrible. I'm waiting for the 5th one to come out. I'm sure they'll release it soon.
I actually think they're making another one. So I thought I heard something about that. He's still alive. He's still alive. Keep making movies.
Indiana Jones versus the coronavirus.
There you go.
Real quick on VPNs, Jim, and I guess I may have missed this earlier. So say you sign up for a service and they allow you 5, 6 devices, however many. If you put your VPN on your router at home, that just counts as one device, right? Typically?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you're at your home network and everybody's logged in at home, you could put the one device protection on your router and cover everybody behind it instead of having to use all your VPN protection, the different devices at home.
Well, so I think, it would be considered one device, but, and David, I might be incorrect on this, but I don't know if you can put a VPN directly to a router device.
Yeah,
right? It would be more for the network itself.
There probably are some services out there that you can configure your router to route through the VPN.
Right, that's what I was saying. Yeah, I think I was looking at IPVanish, and I've got a TP link, and they had instructions on how to go in and set it up to route it through it. And I just wanted to make sure, maybe if you knew that if you did it that way, then everything behind your router was protected by that going through that VPN connection, and if they counted it as one connection.
Go ahead, Zach.
I just want to say I did a lot of research on this in terms of personal products. A lot of it depends on how the licensing is done. Different companies will pay a flat or will charge a flat fee for that, and everything going through that gateway is going to be encrypted through the VPN tunnel. But that's not always something you want. A lot of times websites will, Google especially, due to so much traffic coming out of one exit node, they'll start blacklisting them due to it looks shady. They don't know exactly what's going on. Right. So although it's a possibility to encrypt all of your outgoing traffic going through that gateway, it might not always be the best solution. Okay. You can't easily turn it off when you have it hardwired in or hard set in your router, your gateway there. Where if you have it on your phone or an iPad or whatever, it's usually a simple application with an on-off switch, so you can, do that.
Yeah, and that illustrates again another man-in-the-middle attack, because if your router is compromised, they can go in and change those settings. They can go in and route all of your traffic through their servers. You may never notice, but they're stealing all of your traffic. So again, just another warning sign there.
Yeah, and on the note of VPNs and causing issues, so we've actually, and David's had this experience where you're at a hotel. Well, hotels don't like they don't like VPNs. So they have actually they cut off your internet at a few.
Well, they block it. They block VPN traffic. They can tell that it's a VPN connection, and they'll block it wholesale. You can't use it.
And
Carlene,
I think I've had that as well.
Yeah. I think we were talking before the Sands or whatever it was that we stayed at in Anna Palms. Yeah. The Sands is
Desert
Vegas,
Fox.
right? Yeah. They couldn't get the VPN to work at that hotel.
Lots of things to consider, and I think in general we did a great job covering both aspects when it comes to the personal side and the business side as well. Does anyone have any questions before we're going to just start kind of wrapping things up, but did we have any more VPN questions out there?
And Zach, to your point, Sonic Wall is a great product, and so if it's just a matter of you need the extra throughput, you just get a bigger device, one that can handle additional throughput. Sonic Wall is one of the best out there. So there's
Yeah. Well, thank you for that recommendation.
I would be if I'm in your shoes, I'm looking at, well, how can we rebuild this entire thing so we're not so dependent on everything here in this particular office. I mean, what if this office catches on fire and
Oh yeah.
okay, you've got your backups perhaps, but how quickly can you spin that up?
Yeah, we're my office is 100 yards from Dow Chemicals corporate office, and we're surrounded by, Dow's manufacturing. So we're one bad leak away, and I don't know if you guys remember on the news about a month ago,
Flood.
Midland had a dam break, and we had to kill power to our building because we weren't sure how much it was going to affect it. And for a day, we were offline because everything goes through that, through our on-site, and we were sitting there just completely locked out due to a natural disaster, and we could be the same situation due to a man-made disaster at Dow.
Yeah, we ought to have a conversation offline, and we can talk about ways to present it to management so that they understand that in the end it's actually less expensive.
Absolutely, I'd love to do that.
Okay.
I didn't think there was anything non-Dow in Midland.
There's a handful. I mean, we're a smaller manufacturing company right here in Midland, but for the most part, this entire city only exists for Dow and Dow's employees.
I was fortunate to make 3 trips to Mecca to go see Dow headquarters, and
fortunate.
Unfortunately, one was in February, and I just don't do snow driving. So
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's Jimmy John's there, so
There wasn't I went. I can tell you that much.
Is that the one you worked at, Jim?
No, that was the one. So where Zach and I went to college in Mount Pleasant, Mid-City's like an hour drive, right? 40.
Midland's a half hour from Mount Pleasant.
Okay, yeah, so a half-hour drive. So some of the workers that we worked with would work at both locations, and so yeah, I had to give the Jimmy John's pitch there.
There we go.
If there's a Jimmy John's, it's expanding. It's only another 20 years until it's like Chicago. So, but yeah, like it's been really good to reconnect with Zach because I haven't seen him in 15 years maybe.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And then,
Well, I saw the pictures of the flood, and I was kind of shocked because I saw where the tridge was just about completely submerged. I mean, that was kind of amazing to me. That was my reference point for looking at aerial photos of Midland. Is you see the tridge and you're like, oh my God, that's a pretty. It's a neat little town. I liked it. I mean, it's the only place I know of where you can go sit down to eat breakfast and the guy sitting behind you is the CEO of Dow Chemical, which happened to me.
I still have a family living with me whose house was partially destroyed in the flood. They've been with me since May 19th.
yeah.
Still living there.
Yeah,
Actually, it's Jim's old boss at Jimmy John's, Bill Topper.
Really?
Yeah.
Bill?
Bill is living with me.
Oh, okay.
Him and his wife and his son.
Wow. Yeah. We can relate big time. We had a huge flood just a few years ago. And I think all of us, we did our part to help those in need. We had the Cajun Navy, and I think the Cajun Navy came up to, they they fed you guys. I think they brought some gumbo or something like that, jambalaya.
Yeah, I saw their propeller boats and stuff they brought up to help, get at things.
Yeah. And so real quick, if anybody has any technology topics they would like to learn about, please let us know. We're trying to we have a lot of ideas, but we want to make sure that we're catering to the, to our clients, to the other people who can benefit from this. And so any technology topics or questions you have would be great for us to talk about. We'll do a whole 1 hour on it, and you'll get a thank you email after this. So if you can't think of anything right now, just send us an email back saying, hey, we'd love to learn about this. And like I said, we'll kind of wrap things up now because we are at the 3 o'clock hour. So I don't want to keep anyone beyond that they have other things to do. And, my boss, he's going to want me off this call at 3,
I'm kind of looking at the time. It's better hurry. If you want to see a past chill with Jim, for those of you that haven't, we do have a YouTube channel. So just search Strix Louisiana, STRIX Louisiana, on YouTube. Find our channel. You can subscribe. So we'll upload this one later, and you can look. Zach, we have one on Teams, a past episode on Teams. So you may want to watch that one as well. The Eagle was deeply involved in that one. So
Awesome.
Yep. Yeah, and then next week, if you guys would like to join us, we're actually having a special guest with us, William Dew, and he does story brand marketing. And so next week, we're going to talk about creating and marketing a clear business message through story branding. Very interesting guy. We're going to have lots of good information out there. And actually, at Strix, we worked with Will a year and a half ago.
yeah, about.
Yeah, to help us with our story branding, and it was a really fun process. I really enjoyed it. So that'll be next week, the same chill time, the same chill network, and so I hope you guys are able to join us, and we're gonna go ahead and close it out. So thank you everybody for hopping on. Thank you for all your discussion points. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank
Thanks,
you very
Will.
much.
Thank you,
care,
Carlene. And Zach, I'll LinkedIn you. I'll just send you a message through LinkedIn
Sure.
and get your phone number